He conducted a press conference yesterday. It was odd to me because earlier this week, he issued a statement saying, I have nothing to say about the NFL's process because that's irrelevant to me. Well, then the next day he calls a press conference for Thursday where he's going to talk about the NFL's process. So let's hear a little bit from Tony Buzbee yesterday, and we will react to it, as they say, on the other side.
It is a given that the NFL's disciplinary process is a juggled mess. It has been so inconsistent in the past that it's hard to take it seriously. And worse yet, everyone knows that the NFL's record on women's issues is sketchy and sad. At best, it could be described as inconsistently dismal. Nevertheless, our clients believed that with a new process in place, with new people involved, things might be different. Unfortunately, we were wrong. Some of the interviews spent most of the time on a deep dive of the victim and little to no questions about the conduct that was being alleged. In some cases, it was our view that when the questioners weren't being aggressive and hostile, they really weren't that interested in what was being said or what had actually happened. Many of our clients left those interviews thinking that they had not been heard.
Kind of strange to see a guy who speaks extemporaneously all the time reading from notes, but that's a different point altogether. Tony Buzbee, I don't know what he's trying to do here because he raises concerns about the way the NFL handled the investigation, raises concerns about the manner in which his clients were questioned. They were being interrogated. They were asked, what were you wearing for these massage sessions? They felt like they weren't being properly respected. He said that 10 of his clients were interviewed by the NFL. He offered to make more available. The NFL didn't take him up on that. Now, I think I'd like the NFL to go on the record with a response. I don't like trafficking in off-the-record responses to this kind of on-the-record allegation. I've seen some reporting, and I've heard some things off the record, and again, it makes me uncomfortable to pass those along because they should just issue a statement. If they have a disagreement with Tony Buzbee, they should just say so.
Yes.
But he loses sight of the fact that the process gave the NFL the roadmap to get to where the NFL wants to be.
Right.
He acts like the NFL is trying to brush this under the rug and not punish Deshaun Watson. They want him out for the whole season.
Yes.
He may disagree about how they're going about it and how they went about interviewing these individuals and why they didn't call any of his clients to testify at the hearing. But the league has in hand findings of fact from Judge Robinson that he did it, that he committed nonviolent sexual assault. It's odd to see him complaining about a process that is on course to give him what he apparently wants.
Right. Not only is the process on course to give him what he wants, it's also not over. You know, so I'm a little puzzled, I guess, by the reaction. And I feel terrible that any victim of sexual assault or someone that is claiming to have been sexually assaulted does not feel heard. And I don't like hearing that. But at the same time, when I look at what the NFL has done in the process thus far, the NFL got to a place where it has concluded, the independent, arbitrator, if you will, that is appointed by the NFLPA and the NFL, concluded that Deshaun Watson was guilty, right? And so now the NFL has appealed the 6-game suspension, and we could see the increase in the suspension, we could see an increase in fine, and we could see an increase in what he has to do to receive treatment. So the process is not over. But the NFL's finding of fact, as you said, Mike, has already concluded that he did what he was accused of. So I think to say that the NFL has not taken this seriously, I don't see that as what has gone on so far.
And the obvious goal, I believe, is to put pressure on the NFL to follow through on what it seems to intend to do. But in so doing, it's contributing to this cloud of misinformation that is out there about what the process is, what it isn't, what has happened, what hasn't happened. Because anybody who would listen to that press conference yesterday, I would think he didn't get suspended at all.
Right.
Or I would think the NFL is just kind of checking boxes and getting through this because it wants to move on with football. The NFL is the one that is trying to rectify what it believes was a miscarriage of justice in the 6-game suspension that was levied by Judge Robinson. So it just seems strange to me. And I would like to see why. And it was reported, I believe, at the time of the hearing. Why, when you have 10 people that spoke to NFL investigators, first of all, why didn't they talk to all of them? I'd love to know that on the record, not off-the-record chatter about whatever may have led to those interviews not happening. I want to know why, on the record, you didn't talk to all of the individuals who had claims against Deshaun Watson, and I want to know why you focused on 4 when it was time to actually present the evidence to Judge Robinson. And what was reported at the time, Myles, was the idea that...
But the 4 was... Well, the 5th
well, it was 5,
but the... Right, yes.
The 5th was an anonymous person who spoke to Jenny Vrentas, who declined to be interviewed by the NFL, and Judge Robinson rightly said, that's not evidence. Yes. But as to the 4, how did we get from 10 to 4? Did the NFL just decide, as I think someone suggested at the time this was happening, to just focus on the strongest claims, the ones that had corroboration via contemporaneous text messages, etc.? But if there's 10 and you're just setting aside 6, and if there's 14 more and you're not even counting them into that, I would like to think that the sheer volume of people who are complaining about what Deshaun Watson did would have relevance. If at the end of the day, now, and look at it this way, Judge Robinson found that the investigators who testified at the hearing were credible, and the 215-page report from the NFL was credible. Why do you only focus on 4 if you can say, look, there's 24? Wouldn't the punishment be a hell of a lot more? And that's the one fact that we all need to keep in mind. Even though the case focused on 4, everybody knows it was 24. And why would anyone think that the evidence would be any different as to the other 20? If some of them are telling the truth, are you saying that some of them are just making it up? If it's 24 and it's a consistent pattern and they all came forward and they all got settlements, that's one of those things that when Peter Harvey makes his decision, or when a judge is weighing this, if it goes to court, that person's going to be aware that there were 24. That's unavoidable. Right. But it is odd to me, Myles, that the NFL just focused on 4 when there were so many others out there that would have made the case stronger, just by the sheer volume of complaints against Deshaun Watson.
Right, and I agree with you, Mike, and I feel like that's something that I would really like to know exactly how the NFL got to where it got with just focusing on 4 cases. I mean, we know why it went down from 5 to 4 at the hearing, but we don't know why it went down from, 24 to 12 to 10 and then to 5 and then, down to 4 as well. So there are, I think, a lot of questions that the NFL could answer by delving into exactly what its process was throughout the course of this. And I think for the sake of transparency and perhaps, giving the public a greater understanding of what it was that the NFL was looking at, we all would benefit from the NFL sharing what that process was. It's the same thing that we've been kind of trying to talk about with Daniel Snyder. How did you get to this conclusion, right? How did you get here where, we're saying that this should be the punishment for Daniel Snyder? How did we get here so that this is where the NFL is saying, yes, we're pushing for a year-long suspension of Deshaun Watson now? I feel like we would all benefit from that, a greater understanding of why and the how, and we don't really have those things yet.
And I really do think that the explanation would be, if they would give us one, that they just wanted to focus on the strongest cases that they had, and they didn't want to dilute the credibility of the 4 by introducing more than that. But I guess if I was Judge Robinson and the investigators are the ones who testify and not the individuals, and Buzbee said his people weren't even invited to participate, and I presume that they would have accepted the invitation if they would have been so invited, I would want to ask that question of the investigators before I decide how credible their explanation is. Like, why didn't you bring in these other 6? Did you have concerns about their credibility? Did you think that they were maybe exaggerating, embellishing, fabricating? Would that affect your view of these other 4 individuals? I mean, is it just because they happened to send a text message after they walked out of the room? Is that the thing that made these believable when these aren't? I would be curious about all of those things if I was Judge Robinson or anyone else, and I don't know, maybe we'll try to get to the bottom of that.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.